everybody has to be quiet. Quiet on set. And unmute.
Welcome to the Seattle King County NAACP's Freedom Fund Living the Legacy. Thank you for joining us from wherever you are for this special event celebrating our 108th birthday. We'll be live in just a few minutes. While we wait to get going, you can make a donation anytime by visiting fundraiser.support/NAACP Freedom Fund 2021 or by texting HELLO to 206-466-3315. Now, if you have any questions, reach out to us in the chat on YouTube or Octria. We have NAACP volunteers ready to help you if you need assistance today with a donation or really anything at all. In fact, we want to know that you're with us. So feel free to say hi in the chat right now and tell us where you're joining us from. You can also share in the chat how long you've been a part of the Seattle King County NAACP and about what brings you to the Freedom Fund today. And we may just mention your comments during our live streamed event. So, where are you watching from? And why do you love the Seattle King County NAACP? All right, we'll see you in a few minutes. Welcome all to the Freedom Fund, Living the Legacy, your Seattle King County NAACP's second ever virtual fundraising event. We're coming to you live from Seattle's Pioneer Square. We're gathered today on the unceded land of the Duwamish people. We honor the legacy of the Duwamish people who have stewarded this land for time immemorial and who still honor and bring to light their ancient heritage. The Seattle King County NAACP also works on the ancestral lands of the Muckleshoot, Snoqualmie, Snohomish, Tulalip, Skykomish, Puyallup, and Suquamish peoples. Thank you. My name is Rob Brower, and I am thrilled to be your host and MC for the afternoon. 108 years ago today, Mrs. Letitia Graves called to order the first meeting of what was then the Seattle NAACP. Since then, many generations of activists inspired by her legacy have worked in service of racial equity and civil rights. This afternoon, we are honored to reflect on that legacy and chart a course for our future. Now, I'll share a bit more about myself and how I am connected to NAACP's mission. You see, in the 60s, my father, Bob Brower, was among the first black students to be bused into their newly desegregated high school in Ellerbe, North Carolina. Times were difficult, and though laws had just been passed mandating the integration of public schools, the law didn't keep those who wanted schools to remain segregated from speaking their minds, hurling racial slurs, and even making death threats on a daily basis. I want to thank those brave students, like my dad, and the social activists of the North Carolina NAACP for taking up the fight and standing up against hate. Because of your courage, neither myself nor my children have ever had to think twice about which school we could attend based solely on the color of our skin. Thank you. This afternoon, we'll hear from Vice President Claude Burfect, President Carolyn Riley Payne, and Representative Kirsten Harris-Talley. We'll play a few games, learn about who we are, who we were, and who we want to be. And we'll also raise some money along the way. Your Seattle King County NAACP works every day to advance civil rights, and we need your support. So this afternoon, we are working towards the most ambitious goal we have ever set for ourselves. $70,000 that will ensure our success through 2021 and power our greatest ambitions in 2022. Now, I'm going to do my part, but I'll need you to do your part as well. But first, some housekeeping. Please join us in the chat. You'll find it here on the right side of the screen if you're joining us on YouTube or Octria. If you're watching on Facebook, not to worry, you'll have a great time. But if you want to chat with us, you need to visit fundraiser.support/NAACP Freedom Fund 2021. The chat is the place to be today. We'll have some audience participation, and you'll want to be a part of it. All you need to join is a free YouTube account called a channel. Just click sign in the top right corner and follow the instructions to create your channel and join us in the chat. Now, if you have a Google account, this will be really easy for you. Make sure you find the emojis for extra fun. Just click the gray smiley face right below the chat box to expand that emoji panel. Now that you've found the emojis, let's go ahead and test out the applause emoji. Let's see those claps come in. That's right, there we go. And keep sending them because we have some community partners that we want to thank today. Your Seattle King County NAACP is a partner to many community groups. In particular, we want to celebrate and recognize support from the following. Thank you to our Legacy Circle sponsors, Fred Hutch and GFS Events. Thanks to Bella Red Salon, our sustainer sponsor, and to UFCW 21 and the Washington State Labor Council for supporting us at the Advocates Circle level. We're also grateful to our Celebration Circle members at Bethany United Church of Christ. the offices of Representative Pramila Jayapal, and WFSE Local 843, and to our community circle sponsor, Pam's Kitchen. Next up, huge thanks to CBTU Puget Sound, DDI, and Just Peachy Candles. We are so appreciative of your support. Finally, thanks to Magnus Media Group Video Production. Everything that you've watched this week through our week of giving and all the lights, camera, and action we have right here is a result of the incredible work of our best friends over at Magnus. Thank you. Now, once more, for the good of the order, throughout the program, we'll be asking for your support for Seattle-King County NAACP. So please visit fundraiser.support/NAACP Freedom Fund 2021 or text HELLO to 206-466-3315 to donate at any time throughout the event. Now, why donate? Well, when you donate just $250, for example, you help us produce one virtual seminar. Virtual events gather subject matter experts, local officials, activists, and others to discuss subjects ranging from financial literacy, healthcare, our community's history, the arts, to police accountability and beyond. We need your support to keep these events free and as amazing as they've always been. We'll drop the link in the chat for you to click on to donate, or you can text HELLO to the number in the chat. And in case you're wondering, yes, we do accept checks. You can make a check out to Seattle-King County NAACP and just put Freedom Fund in the memo line. Then mail your checks to P.O. Box 22148, Seattle, Washington 98122. Now, if you have any questions, please reach out in the chat. Okay, that's enough for the logistics. Who's ready for some trivia? Here's trivia question number 1. In 1910, future founders of the Seattle NAACP, Samuel and Susie Stone, had successfully sued to desegregate which Seattle neighborhood? Was it A, Beacon Hill, C, Magnolia, or B, Magnolia, or C, Mount Baker? Now go ahead and drop your answers in the chat. A, Beacon Hill, B for Magnolia, or C for Mount Baker? People are taking their best guess. Some of you are probably Googling the answer right now. We just want you to know that's cheating, but that's okay. Now, you guys ready for the answer? The correct answer is C, Mount Baker. If you guessed that, you are correct. In 1909, Susie and Samuel tried to build a home in Mount Baker. They were met with strong resistance and racial covenants. In 1910, they and fellow future founders of your NAACP sued and built the legal framework for Seattle's open housing ordinance, which struck down racial covenants and criminalized housing discrimination. Okay, that's it for me for now. I'm honored to introduce Mr. Claude Burfict, first Vice President of your Seattle-King County NAACP. Vice President Burfict has been registering voters and fighting for civil rights across the nation since at least 1957. Let's take a look.
My name is Claude Burfict, and I am the first Vice President of the Seattle-King County NAACP. Where do I start? Well, back in 1957, as a sophomore in high school, my uncle, Percy Murphy Griffin, came to me and my sister and asked if we would do voter registration in our neighborhood. In Louisiana, and I am originally from New Orleans, Louisiana, what happened at that time was Jim Crow. Now, Jim Crow, I thought when I was a young kid was a man, but Jim Crow was a system at that time. And for black people, we had to do what was called a literacy test. So what my sister and I did was we would go to neighborhoods and knock on doors to all the black folks in that community to sit them down, and we would teach them. As a 10th grader, and she was in 12th grade, we would teach them how to take the literacy test. It was a 50-question test that only black people in the state of Louisiana, or as a matter of fact, in the South, had to take this literacy test. We done that, and as a matter of fact, we got 105 people in a month registered to vote. Now, can you imagine? That was just within a month, and we continued this for over a year to get people registered to vote. From there, I became more of, I would say, a militant, because during that time we had the civil rights movement. Then I later on became a member of CORE, Congress of Racial Equality, where James Farmer was the president of CORE. The NAACP and CORE got together, they partnered where we began to demonstrate. And we did rallies, demonstrations, sit-ins, and oh boy, I don't know how many times I was arrested and thrown in jail. I was bitten by dogs, I was hosed, I was hit in the head with, well, we call it a billet at that time, and as a matter of fact, fractured my left skull. From the demonstrations, my church at that time, and my uncle, Percy Murphy Griffin, who was the pastor of St. John's Church out in Phoenix, Louisiana, got together with Reverend Vaughn from New Orleans at my church, and we decided to do the March on Washington back in 1963. At the March on Washington, I got to meet quite a few celebrities, I call. We had Coleman Young, which was president of the Urban League. There was A. Philip Randolph, who unionized the Pullman Porters. I also knew John Lewis because we were a part of SNCC. It was a nonviolent organization that traveled throughout the South via the buses. So we had to make a statement by traveling where you were not allowed to sit in certain areas on the buses. So we did that for a while, not realizing John Lewis was ever going to become as famous as he would during as a congressional leader. But I got to know quite a few people, but from that point, I then graduated from the University of Washington, got my master's degree from the University of Washington. I then became more involved in labor, in the labor movement. I became the president of one of the Washington Federations of State Employees' largest unions, which was Local 1488, which had roughly about 6,000 members. From the labor movement, I became a member of the NAACP when I first arrived here, and that was back in 1966. I came from Vietnam in 1966 to Seattle. I was released at Fort Lewis, Washington, and I decided to stay here because I figured the opportunities, job opportunities, were greater here than it would be in the South. Now let me remind you of one thing in the South. When we would look for employment, we would look in the newspapers for employment, and they specifically stated for colored only, which meant those were your demeaning jobs. They were not jobs like accountant. They were like janitorial services, busboys, waiters, those kinds of jobs, which meant a lot of people that went to your black colleges in the South became teachers. The only jobs you really could get was either teaching, you could work for the post office, or a federal job. You couldn't get your basic jobs that you could, receive here, like in Seattle or other metropolitan cities. Those were some of the things that we really were fighting against. One of my proudest accomplishments, I think it was 5 or 6 years ago, Gerald Hankerson was the president of the branch. I recall vividly that 9 people had been murdered in Charleston, South Carolina. I went to Gerald and I said, well, hey, look, I would like to do something regarding the 9 people that had been murdered by this young kid, Dylan Roof. And he says, go for it. I know myself and K.L. Shannon decided we were going to work on this project, and we put this project together. We put a march and a rally together in Martin Luther King Park. The rally started from First AME Church, and we had around 4,500 people marching with us. We also planted 1 big tree and 9 branches around the tree, symbolizing the 9 people that had been murdered. It is in the Martin Luther King Park with a plaque that is right next to the big tree with the names of the 9 individuals that had passed, along with the organizations that helped sponsor the marching rally. So that was one big feat that we put together. And if you go to the park today, you will see the tree, and you will see the 9 branches that are around the tree, and you see the plaque. And every Christmas, that tree is lit up during the Christmas holidays.
Wow, what a legacy. There are few folks who have given as much of themselves as Vice President Burfict. Thank you so much, Claude, for sharing your amazing story. Now, this afternoon, we salute you and strive to honor your living legacy. As Claude mentioned, we are very close to unions representing hundreds of workers across the state. I want to thank, in particular, UFCW 21, Washington State Labor Council, WFSE Local 843, and the Puget Sound Coalition of Black Trade Unionists for their partnership and for sponsoring the Freedom Fund. I ask you to follow the lead of our union friends and make a donation now to honor Claude's legacy and to support the programs so near to his heart. Let's see how we're doing towards our fundraising goal. Looking at the thermometer now, and I see that we are halfway there. We have reached the 50% mark, so we're at just over $35,000 raised towards our fundraising goal. Thank you so much. I am so grateful to all of those who have already made their gifts, and I look forward to seeing more folks step up. Now that we're ready to go back into the world, we need an office. We need the resources to produce in-person events. We need to expand our racial discrimination hotline. We need to work with the new administration in Seattle City Hall and do about 1 million other things too. So we are aiming high, and I know that with your help, we'll get there. Now, I would like to turn it over to the president of your Seattle King County NAACP, Carolyn Riley Payne, whose leadership over the last 2 years has helped our branch rebuild itself. Under her stewardship, we have grown our membership exponentially, sailed reasonably smoothly through a pandemic, and refocused our efforts on community dialogue.
Hi, I'm Carolyn Riley Payne, the president of the Seattle King County NAACP, and I'm welcoming you to the 108th celebration of the branch. We are excited to have you join us for this occasion. Our Freedom Fund funds everyone was the theme from last year. And this year it is legacy, because this is our 108th year. We're asking you to be a participant with us and join us by donating $108, $108.08, $10.08. Whatever you can do in eights. We need you. The legacy of the Seattle King County NAACP is just this. We are only 3 years younger than the national. As such, that means that even then we recognize the importance of what was needed from the NAACP to fight discrimination. What we do impacts the world, the nation. We cannot do anything that impacts the African American community that does not impact the community at large. So don't think of the NAACP as a black organization. Think of it as your organization making this world a better place where you live. We continue to do the same things. The same things exist that existed when we started. Discrimination is rapid, homelessness, people don't have good jobs, you're getting fired, you don't have any place to stay. When you walk in a place, you cannot get served. Those things are still factors. We're trying to work ourselves out of a job or out of a reason to exist, but we can't as long as we as a community, as a society, don't respect each other, are not kind, and don't understand what it means to be a human being. We fight for the liberty and the rights of everybody, and the Seattle King County is still fighting. We are here. We need you to come and be a part of this celebration that we're doing. It takes a lot to be 108 years old. We need you to come be a part of us doing things right. If we're not doing it quite right like you like it or you think it ought to be, I got a suggestion for you. Pay your dues. Come and be a part of it and help us be better than we are. We know this is a volunteer organization. This celebration is our second virtual. This is our fundraiser. This is how we do what we do. We do not have a lot of activities over the year that raise funds because we give funds back to the community. So in order for us to be effective, in order for us to do what you think we ought to be doing, this is your time. If you don't have time to come out and be on a committee, then let me suggest we take checks, we take cash. Call us. We'll find a way for you to participate. The legacy of the NAACP also goes back to a lady named Alma, who's being honored this year at the Western Washington University, where she was the first African American to graduate. She was also a founding member of the Seattle King County NAACP. Now that's legacy. Well, I've been a part of this organization for a long time, and I've been vice president for many years before I became president recently. So I have a legacy with this organization that goes back years doing all kinds of things. I have worked on the Freedom Fund. I've been the co-chair. I've worked on every aspect of what we do in this branch. As the president, my legacy is going to be making this organization whole again. We came back from the brinks of despair. We were down in membership. We had a deficit budget. We were in turmoil. So my legacy is going to be, I stepped in at a time that you needed the NAACP and the NAACP needed us. And I brought us back. We no longer have a deficit. Our membership is growing every day. We've increased 50% in our membership. We have our Freedom Fund going strong. And when things got bad and the pandemic took over, we went virtual. So we adjusted to what we had to do. We still reach the community. We still working in the community. We are still doing voter registrations. My legacy is going to be stepping in, keeping an organization running, moving it forward, making a difference in our community. That is my legacy. For the future, I'd like to see us grow tenfold in our membership. Our youth council, I'd like to see it growing. And of course, I'd like for every student to be a part of the AXO program. I'd like to be able to give every student an opportunity to participate and travel to places that they may not get to go and meet people they may not get to meet. I'd like for us to make a difference in police accountability. I'd like us to have an impact on the new police chief, the new superintendent of schools. I want us to be a part, an integral part of the community in every fabric of what's happening. I want people to recognize that we are here not just when things are going bad, but we're here when things are going good. We are partners with the community. I want us to be on more visible, be on more committees in the city and government, not just in the Seattle area, but all over King County. I want us to have a strong social justice presence. So as we move forward in my last year for next year, that is what we'll be working on, trying to build. Can't do any of those things unless we have you, because this is a membership organization. And I can't say that enough because people forget that. Membership organizations need members to get work done. So that is what we'll be looking for. My legacy will be building this organization back and making it sustainable by having a budget that we can continue to do good work. I forgot more than I know about this organization, but I do know that we are still doing the business. We are still fighting the fight. We still need you, and we need you to donate this year more than ever so that we can continue doing what we do so well.
Now, Carolyn paints an amazing picture of what makes the Seattle King County NAACP such a remarkable organization. The people, our volunteers, members, partners, and leaders. Carolyn's vision will reestablish the NAACP as a local leader in the ongoing struggle for civil rights. And I hope that you will take this moment to dig deep and make a donation in tribute to President Riley Payne. Maybe $10.80, maybe $108, maybe more. It is our 108th birthday after all. And I want to go ahead and acknowledge both Hannah and Kevin, who have gone ahead online and made $108 donations. Thank you very much. While you're making your donation, I want to do some more trivia. So here's trivia question number 2. There are hundreds of branches of the NAACP across the nation, and over 90 in the Western region. How many NAACP branches are right here in Washington? Is it A, 7, B, 2, or C, 13? Once again, drop your answers in the chat. A, 7, B, 2, C, 15. 13. My bad. All right. We're going to give it a second for those answers to roll in. We'll see how many of you can get it right. Taking an informal poll around the studio. Yeah? Yeah? Okay, you think so? I'm not sure. Maybe. Kevin thinks it's 7. We'll see if you're right. Laura thinks it's B. Okay. From here, that looked like an 8, and I was going to say, that's not even an option, Laura. So B2, 7, A is 7. Okay. Roger also thinks it's A. You might be right. You think it's C? Okay. We'll see. You guys ready for the right answer? All right. There are 7 branches in Washington State, so the answer is A. Congratulations to those who got it right. There are active NAACP branches in Bremerton, Yakima, Vancouver, Snohomish County, Spokane, Tacoma, and of course, Seattle-King County. Over the last century, there were also branches in Walla Walla and Pasco. A donation to the Seattle-King County NAACP supports our colleagues across the state and region through our work in the Alaska, Oregon, Washington State Area Conference. Okay, let's take another look and see how we're doing. Looking at our thermometer, we're at 51% with $35,709 so far. Thank you to everybody who has been giving. You are so generous, and we thank you. And we know that the rest of you will go ahead and jump on there and give as you feel called. In just a few moments, we're going to hear from our keynote speaker, Representative Kirsten Harris-Talley of Washington's 37th District. Before that, on behalf of Vice President Burfict, President Riley Payne, and the whole of the Seattle-King County NAACP Executive Committee, I am asking you to dig deep. Ask yourself what justice and racial equity mean to you, and please, donate accordingly. Here we go. Go to fundraiser.support/NAACP Freedom Fund 2021 to donate now. And as I look, I see we've got donations from Kimberly, thank you, Brenda, Brent coming in at $250. Thank you guys so much for your donations. Now, I'm going to share a few giving levels, so listen in and please make the donation that makes the most sense to you. Again, visit fundraiser.support/NAACP Freedom Fund 2021, or you can text HELLO to 206-466-3315 and get ready to give. A $5,000 donation will help us underwrite the cost of sending one AXO student to compete in their field at the regional and national level. AXO is the NAACP's Afro-Academic, Cultural, Technological, and Scientific Olympics, a year-long achievement program that engages African American high school students and that encourages academic and cultural excellence. Now, what could be more important than investing in our youth? If you can support us with a generous gift of $5,000, please do. Now, a $2,500 donation helps us find a home. A gift at this level will help pay the rent and keep the lights on at a new office. It's been a long 19 months out of the office, and we're ready to hold space together and be in community. Who will help us get out from behind the screen and back around the table? Donating $1,000 helps us produce one in-person community event like a vaccine drive, mental health pop-up, or community celebration. We're so blessed to be able to produce fun and engaging events at community spaces around the county, and we want to build on this in 2022. So help us meet you where you are. And I want to go ahead and thank Reverend Angela Ying and the Bethany United Church of Christ for their $1,000 donation. Thank you. Please join Reverend Ying now if $1,000 makes sense to you. Now, when you donate $500, you help us develop and distribute voter education and registration materials. For 108 years, we have engaged with elected officials and the electorate. We need to push on school districts, police departments, city halls, and King County Council to do right by, for, and with the community. We need your support to speak truth to power and to hold our electeds accountable. $500 will make that possible. Thank you to Sam and Barbara Clark for your support at this level. Next up, $250 underwrites the cost of one virtual event. Now, while we're ready to get back into the world, virtual events are often more accessible to more people. I mean, just look at the Freedom Fund. We have guests joining us from all over today. $250 will produce one virtual financial literacy seminar, healthcare info session, or membership meeting. Thanks so much to Jeanette Lee and Pamela Jacob for your gifts. Now I want to close with this. Every dollar matters. Please know that we need and will responsibly use any and every dollar you donate. I'd like you to consider a gift of $108, $25, $5, or even $1. Honestly, anything. We need flyers, postage, snacks for event volunteers, clipboards, porta potty rentals, and signage. So celebrate our birthday today with a gift to fund the essentials. Thank you so much to Guyana Young, Helen Conway Garland, Lanisha DeBarta-Laban, Raven McShane, Stephanie Penoyer, and everyone else giving at every level. Thank you so much. And thank you also to our ambassadors who built peer-to-peer fundraising campaigns to bring donations in and who spread the word about our work and this special week of giving. Thank you to ambassadors Amy, Erica, Kevin, Morgan, Neil, Sarah, Daryl, and to everyone else who asked anyone else to donate or to be here. All right, let's use that applause emoji in the chat to celebrate how far we've come. A big round of applause, everyone, and feel free to go ahead and clap along. Yeah. Woo! All right. Thank you. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker. After our keynote, we'll have one more game of trivia. Representative Kirsten Harris-Talley is a mother, educator, wife, and neighbor in Seattle who has worked for over 20 years in service of our community in nonprofits, philanthropy, reproductive rights, and housing justice. This legislative session, Representative Harris-Talley was a sponsor of over 130 bills ranging from an expansion of family leave to the Working Families Tax Credit and several pieces of urgently needed legislation to limit police use of force. We are honored to call her a friend of the Seattle-King County NAACP. Please welcome Representative Harris-Talley to Freedom Fund, Living the Legacy.
What an honor to be speaking at the Seattle-King County NAACP Living the Legacy event today. I want to give you thanks, Ms. Carolyn Riley Payne, for your leadership as president of our chapter during an extraordinary time. And to you, Mr. Claude Burfect, and Ms. Erica Conway, who serve as our vice presidents, for the invitation to join you today on your 108th birthday. And what a legacy to reflect on today. I love history. I always have. I was raised by elders and their stories and their wisdom, which is always rooted in our resilience and brilliance as a Black people. So many of those elders who raised me are no longer with us. They're now ancestors, still holding us with their love and experience from the other side. As I was preparing for today, I sat with so much awe as I read and was reminded of the history, the legacy of this NAACP chapter, and the history we're living now and witnessing right now here in Seattle and King County in 2021. We're building from the legacy of those who came before us, and with every choice we make now, we are acting as future ancestors. We are future ancestors who are building the world and communities in which our children and youth, and those who aren't even here yet, will fight for their freedom. And as future ancestors, we have to ask, what will be the hope and bounty we leave those who come after us? In 1913, when Letitia Graves founded the Seattle NAACP branch, it was in protest to then President Woodrow Wilson's policy of segregating Black federal employees. She did not know when that chapter formed. Only 5 years later, in 1918, the flu pandemic would hit Seattle, closing stores in our segregated schools, further isolating an already deeply segregated and marginalized community in a quickly growing city. She did not know that over a century later, right here, right now, we would be coming together in a time of pandemic to reflect on the legacy of fights and wins and struggles, and that we are still here in Seattle and King County in the fight for Black lives, Black ease, Black freedom. She only knew she had to act and that she couldn't do it alone, and that we as Black people and neighbors are always better when we come together, because together we're stronger and we win. Ooh, and how we've won, y'all. We have won. Ms. Letitia didn't know that the first fight she took up for an end to segregation to Black employees in 1913, which they won, would be a fight for unionization in 1961, when our NAACP ensured that Safeway hired more minorities, the language of the time, by organizing series of strikes and demonstrations. Or that protests against the Carpenters Local 131 in 1966, when we were concerned of their shocking discrimination and overtly racist hiring practices, that we would again win. Or that would fold into supporting Black-owned businesses and Black union membership and job training now in 2021. She couldn't have known that the NAACP's push for housing justice that started with fighting against racial restrictive covenants in the 1920s would continue to be wins decades later, when in 1968, we fought and we won Seattle's open housing ordinance, which took a definitive strike against redlining practices. Or that lead would win to continuing championing Black home ownership and protecting homeowners in 2021 as we continue to fight against displacement in South Seattle, Skyway, and King County. Or that just like the Seattle NAACP was labeled in 1946 a radical organization, that we would be marching in the streets in 2020 under the banner of the Black Lives Matter movement, being labeled much the same. Yet, despite that label, thousands, tens of thousands of us marched every day for 125 consecutive days to say our lives matter. She couldn't have known. She couldn't have known that I would be joining the Washington State Legislature in January of this year to serve as one of 9 Black legislators, which is the largest number who have ever simultaneously served us since 1889. Know this, when Washington's first assembly came together in 1889, Representative William Owen Bush served as our first Black legislator in this state. We have been here, y'all. We've been here since the halls of Olympia opened, and we're still here. The 9 of us currently serving are amongst only 25 Black members who've served since Representative Bush, including Representative Son J. Smith, who was the first Black representative to serve our King County, and Representative Marjorie Pitter King, who was the first Black woman to ever serve in our state legislature. And I am so honored to serve as a Black woman now. All that work, all that legacy has brought us to this moment where 9 of us are serving together. And let me tell you what, y'all, the Legislative Black Caucus is fire. We are getting things done together with partners like you. This year we passed the most progressive laws that we've seen in years. Revenue to invest in our communities, labor rights so working families can thrive, housing for all. And most remarkably, in one legislative session, we passed 12 police accountability bills, making sure that those marches for Black lives last summer and last fall were heard and that we took action. And yet we know as a Black people, we know there's still so much more to do. And like you, I am so glad the NAACP is here to help us do it. Ms. Letitia could not have known what would unfold over 108 years. How could she? I wonder if she saw herself as a future ancestor. I wonder how deep her knowing was that in taking the step of building an organization like the NAACP, that this would be an organization that would weather all that struggle over 108 years. And that with all of us here today, that we share that struggle together. So as I sit here today and reflect on what action I plan to take with the NAACP, I reflect on what it means to be a future ancestor. Certain of my own steps now, even as I am wholly uncertain of what will come tomorrow. Certain that the ones after me will be a little bit closer to the freedom they seek because of my actions today. I'm thinking of the enduring legacy of this Seattle and King County NAACP chapter and what it means to give of my time by volunteering, what it means to show my solidarity to this collective by becoming a member, and what my personal gift today will mean, what it'll resource so that we get over a struggle, so that we can lead together as the NAACP. So how are you going to show yourself to be a future ancestor today? What is the legacy you want to fortify here, right now, with the Seattle and King County NAACP? Be safe. Be well. Take care of each other.
I am humbled and thrilled to consider myself a future ancestor and to know that all of us in this moment are building the next legacy which will be lived out and elaborated on by all those yet to come. All right, one more game before I let you go. This time, we're playing for a prize, so listen closely. The second and fifth people who get the answer right in the comments will each win a $30 gift card to Trophy Cupcakes, a longtime friend to the branch. Pro Cupcake, anti-racist. Okay, let's go. Trivia question number 3. Despite the Supreme Court's 1954 decision on Brown versus Board of Education to desegregate schools, it took a generation for districts to actually implement desegregation, busing, and other programs to ensure racial equity throughout public schools. During a massive protest planned by the Seattle King County NAACP, nearly 4,000 students and teachers walked out. This walkout is considered to be a landmark moment in the fight for civil rights in the region and set Seattle on a path to full integration of the city's public schools. So, when was the Seattle school walkout? Was it A, 1974, B, 1960, or C, 1966? Once again, A, 1974, B, 1960, or C, 1966. When was the Seattle school walkout? Remember, the second and the fifth people to get this right will win. So let's turn to the chats and let's see what you guys think. Again, we are playing for a $30 gift card to Trophy Cupcakes. Okay, friends, let's get those guesses coming in. Oh, we've got a guess for C. And looking around, what do you guys think? We got some more people with some answers here. Okay. All right. I see ya. Okay. When was the Seattle school walkout? A, 1974, B, 1960, or C, 1966? Okay, we've got a 1960. Another C. Here's your chance to win a $30 gift card to Trophy Cupcakes. We just need a couple more people to jump in and answer with their guess. I think you might be right. You might be right. Okay. When was the Seattle school walkout? Do we have our winners? I think we do. I think we have our winners. The answer, friends, is C, 1966. In March and April of 1966, thousands of students left their classes. Nearly 60% of students were marked absent. Many students attended community freedom schools supported by the NAACP to prevent any learning loss. The students demanded a reform to the institutions that concentrated children of color disproportionately in overcrowded and underfunded schools. This was a watershed moment in local history and is known to many as a beacon which can serve as a model for our future actions. Now, before we head out today, let's take one last look at the giving thermometer. Currently, we are 54% funded with over $37,500 raised, and there's still more to go. There's still time to donate, so please go to fundraiser.support/NAACP Freedom Fund 2021 to make your donation now. With your donations today, you have helped our branch work in more productive and earnest service of communities and people across the county and region. Thank you so much for helping us live the legacy. Now, remember, we're still accepting more donations towards our goal, so please spread the word that we'll be accepting gifts through October 29th. Now, on behalf of Seattle King County NAACP, thank you so much for joining us and for your generosity. Have a fantastic rest of your day.
I was born by the river in a little tent. Oh, and just like that river, I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes it will. It's been too hard to live in, but I'm afraid to die, 'cause I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes it will. See, I go to the movies and I walk downtown, but somebody keeps telling me don't hang around. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes it will. Then I go to my brother and I say, brother, help me please. But he winds up knocking me way back down on my knees. There's been times that I thought I wouldn't last for long, to carry on. It's been a long time coming, but I know